Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel today. I have a special treat for you. I'm going to tell you about 4 horror stories that terrifying driving at night. Are you ready to get scared? Let's begin. The first story is about the phantom passenger. In the hushed town of Valewood, where the fog clung to the streets like a shroud, there was a legend that chilled the bones of every hearer of the phantom passenger. It was said that on the stroke of midnight, a spectral train would glide silently through the town, its carriages flickering with ghostly light. No tracks lay where it traveled, and no schedule predicted its arrival. Yet the townsfolk knew it well, for it had claimed many of their kin. The story begins with a young man named Ethan, who, driven by a mix of skepticism and bravado, decided to uncover the truth behind the tales. He waited at the old crossroads, the supposed place where the phantom train made its ethereal stop. As the clock tower tolled 12, a chill wind swept through, carrying with it the faint, haunting whistle of a train. Ethan watched in disbelief as the ghostly locomotive materialized before his eyes. Its doors creaked open, beckoning him inside. Compelled by an unseen force, he stepped into the dimly lit carriage. The moment his foot touched the floor, the door slammed shut and the train lurched forward into the night. Inside, Ethan found himself surrounded by passengers, their faces pale and eyes hollow. They paid him no heed, staring blankly ahead as if lost in their own worlds. A sense of dread filled Ethan's heart as the train plunged into a tunnel of swirling mist. The hours seemed to pass, or was it minutes? Time held no meaning in this place. Suddenly, the train came to a halt, and the passengers rose as one, their movements synchronized and eerie. They turned to Ethan, their mouths opening in silent screams, and he realized with horror that they were not passengers at all, but trapped souls, bound to the train for eternity. Ethan tried to flee, but the doors wouldn't budge. A figure emerged from the shadows, the conductor of this damned ride. "Welcome to the end of the line," the figure whispered, its voice a cacophony of the cries of the lost. "Your ticket is one way, and your seat is reserved forever." In a desperate act, Ethan shattered a window, the glass dissolving into mist as it hit the ground outside. He leapt through the opening, tumbling onto the cold, hard reality of the crossroads. The train, the passengers, and the conductor had vanished without a trace. Ethan never spoke of that night, but the haunted look in his eyes told a tale of its own. The phantom passenger had claimed another victim, not in body but in spirit. And so the legend lived on, a warning to all who dared to challenge the mysteries of Valewood. The second story is about the never-ending detour. In the heart of a forgotten countryside, there lay a road less traveled, known to the locals as the never-ending detour. Legend had it that once you turned onto this road, the journey had no end, and the traveler was never seen again. On a stormy night, a weary traveler named Jack, desperate to reach his destination, ignored the warnings and took the detour. The rain poured down in sheets, thunder roared, and lightning illuminated the snaking path ahead. As Jack drove, the road seemed to stretch and twist into impossible shapes, and the landscape around him began to change. The trees turned gnarled and twisted, their branches clawing at the sky like skeletal hands. Faces appeared in the bark, whispering secrets of the lost souls who had taken this road before him. Jack's heart pounded as he realized he was not alone. Figures cloaked in mist watched from the woods, their eyes glowing with a haunting light. Hours turned into days, and the road continued to unfurl before him, an endless ribbon of asphalt. Jack's supplies dwindled and fatigue set in, but every time he thought of turning back, the road behind him vanished into a thick fog. He was trapped in a loop of his own making, a prisoner of the never-ending detour. Whispers filled the car, each one a tale of sorrow and regret from the spirits bound to the road. Jack knew he would join them, another lost wanderer, unless he could break the curse of the detour. But as the days blurred into one another, hope faded, and the road claimed him, just as it had claimed so many before. And so, the never-ending detour waits for its next victim, a road that promises a shortcut but leads only to an eternal journey through the heart of darkness. The third story is about the road that hates. In the heart of an ancient forest, there lay a road known by the locals as the road that hates. It was a narrow, winding path that seemed to absorb the darkness of the night, deeper than the shadows cast by the twisted trees that lined its edges. The air around it was always cooler, and the silence was profound, as if even the crickets feared to chirp. Legend had it that the road was cursed by a vengeful spirit, a traveler who had been wronged by the villagers and left to perish in the cold embrace of the wilderness. With his dying breath, he cursed the path, vowing that none would traverse it without feeling the weight of his hatred. Those who dared to walk the road that hates spoke of an overwhelming sense of dread, of unseen eyes watching from the darkness, and of whispers that seemed to slither through the leaves. The road would play tricks on the mind, with travelers often finding themselves walking in circles, no matter how straight they thought they were going. One fateful night, a young couple, intrigued by the tales, decided to challenge the legend and walk the road hand in hand. As they stepped onto the path, the air grew thick, and the darkness seemed to close in around them. They walked, and the road stretched on endlessly before them, the trees snarling like beasts ready to pounce. Suddenly, the ground beneath them began to tremble, and the air was filled with a guttural growl that seemed to come from the very earth itself. The couple ran, but the road twisted and turned against them, the trees reaching out with claw-like branches. It was then that they realized the road was alive, and it hated them with a passion that was almost palpable. They never made it off the road that hates the next morning. The villagers found only their footprints leading into the darkness, with no sign of their return. The road had claimed them, as it had claimed so many before. And so the road that hates remains, a stretch of path in the forest that is best left alone, a reminder that some legends are rooted in truths too terrifying to comprehend. Those who listen closely say that on quiet nights, you can still hear the whispers of the vengeful spirit and the sorrowful weeping of those lost to the road's eternal hatred. The fourth story is about the crossing. In the small hours of the night, when the world was draped in a cloak of darkness, the villagers would hear the faint creaking of the ancient bridge. It was said that if you stood at the edge of the crossing at exactly midnight, you could see the ghostly procession of souls, their faces twisted in eternal anguish as they made their passage to the other side. One daring soul, a young man named Savan, decided to challenge the legend. Armed with nothing but his skepticism and a flickering flashlight, he ventured to the crossing. As the clock tower chimed 12, Savan's heart raced. The air turned cold, and a dense fog rolled in, enveloping him. Suddenly, the creaking grew louder, and through the mist he saw them shadowy figures, moving across the bridge. Savan's flashlight flickered, and in that moment of darkness he felt a chill not of this world. When the light returned, he was no longer alone. Standing before him was a woman, her eyes hollow, her mouth agape in a silent scream. She reached out to Savan, her hand passing through him, leaving a trail of icy dread. He wanted to run, but his feet were rooted to the spot. The woman's mouth moved, and though no sound came out, Savan understood her plea, "Help us." The next morning, Savan was found unconscious at the foot of the crossing. He awoke with no memory of the night before, but with a newfound respect for the bridge and its spectral inhabitants. The villagers whispered that Savan had been marked by the spirits, chosen to bear witness to their eternal crossing. From that day on, the crossing was no longer just an old bridge. It was a reminder of the thin veil between life and death, and of the souls that linger, waiting to be remembered. And so, the crossing remains, a chilling monument to the unknown, a place where the brave dare not tread after dark, for fear of what lies beyond. These are just one of the many horror stories. There are many more out there waiting to be discovered and told. Do you have any horror stories of your own? Share them in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more spooky content. Until next time, stay safe and stay curious. Bye.